Hi Lucy, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, it's really lovely, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome, thank you. Can we please start with you giving an introduction to yourself, your business, and what you sell?
I'm Lucy Kendall. I own Share a Little Frankie, based in Dorset, and I hand draw wildlife artwork and reproduce onto giftware and greetings cards.
Amazing, thank you. Now, I know that you have a rather interesting story about how and why you started Share a Little Frankie. So could you share that with us, please?
I originally started Share a Little Frankie in 2020. I was doing a few pet portraits and I wanted to design a few of my own greeting cards. So I made a deal with my mum with my GCSE grades to pay me per grade. And I ended up with £850, which I put into greeting cards, and that has slowly gone into everything else and tumbled the business into what it is today.
Oh, that's amazing. And you must have done really well in your GCSEs as well.
I did, although I was lucky. It was COVID, so we made the deal before COVID was about, so I didn't have to sit my exams. So my grades were better than expected.
Well,
So my
still,
poor
that's really
mum.
good. So what was it that led you to like ask your mum for that and made you think about starting a business?
I I loved my art at school, and I would love. Well, I've always wanted to be a full-time artist, um, but as much as I love doing the pet portraits and the commission work, I also did product design at school, and I would thought I'd love to make a business where I can combine the two um, passions. So I thought I'd do greetings cards, and then I sort of just ended up doing the giftware as well when I wanted to expand my range. Um, yeah, I'm quite fussy with the products that I create as well. I try and make them as eco-conscious as possible and high quality. I won't sell anything that I wouldn't buy myself.
Well, that's really good. And so when you first started, were you selling on your own website or did you go on to another platform? So where did you start selling your cards?
So most of my cards today as well are sold direct to shops and retailers. I started off with a basket with my cards in, going around to local shops and just walking in um, with a basket full of cards and seeing if they would be interested. So now I also sell off my website, um, and I still approach shops in person today.
Oh, amazing. So was that your plan from the start, was to sell directly into shops rather than trying to sell directly to consumers?
With the greeting cards, yes, mainly because obviously they are a low price point item, which people are more likely to go into a shop and buy. With the giftware, more online sales, but I do sell to stockists as well with my giftware. But the greeting cards mainly go through retail.
That makes a lot of sense because I'll be honest, I don't know what the margins are on greeting cards, but given as you say that they're low cost, you must need to do volume, and the best way to do volume is obviously
Yes,
to sell them in bulk.
yeah. The more you can buy of a product, the cheaper it is to buy in. The greeting card markups are better than the giftware markups, because they're a paper product and they're cheaper to buy in. But yeah, it's more effective for shops as well to buy in bulk, um, and sell them that way.
And I guess also online, you're competing with a lot of people who sell cards. So if you're a customer looking for a card, there are obviously big card websites that we won't mention who obviously have a lot of the market. It must be really hard as a smaller business to get found.
Yeah. So the SEO of the website and the keywords for giftware is easier to get seen than trying to compete, like you said, against massive publishers and greeting card companies online. Whereas, especially with shops, um, they will probably have a section which is dedicated to small businesses, and they have a section with their cards, which people can then go to, are directed towards, and want to support those smaller names. Um, and you just easier to get seen that way. Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
And was that what led you into giftware, or was there another reason why you decided to expand?
It was the designing element, which I missed from the product design. Greeting cards are really simple to design, whereas with like the tote bags I do and the mugs and other giftware, it is that extra design element which I really enjoy. Yeah, it's just expanding my range, which the greeting cards are the bread and butter sort of element of my business. They're the baseline. They have a good sort of margin on them. But the rest of it is what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And were there other challenges involved in creating these products? Because obviously cards, you mentioned they're paper, so it's a case of looking for a printer. But how about actually working with suppliers to get your designs on the homeware products?
So with the greetings cards are easier to produce because there are loads of UK printers. My greeting cards get printed on my doorstep pretty much. It's about a 5-minute trip down the road. But finding manufacturers for giftware and other products can be harder. So I'm part of the Gift Association, and that is a really good network to be part of because you can ask them for manufacturer sort of information and they will point you in the direction of who you're looking to speak to. But also speaking to other small businesses. It's very, very rare that I will speak to another small business that does products and ask for manufacturer sort of information, but they won't. No one really gatekeeps. We're all here to help each other. So asking people about where they get their products produced, would they be able to help you? It's not it sounds really hard to be able to find a manufacturer for giftware, but it's not as big and hard as you might think it is. Definitely when I started the business, I thought that seems way off something I'll be able to do. But everyone's really friendly, especially the Gift Association. They're really helpful.
I don't actually know about the Gift Association. I've definitely seen their logo. I think I've seen it on your website and other websites for businesses that are part of the Gift Association. But would you mind just explaining like who they are and what they do? Because that might be really useful.
Yeah, of course. I only joined, I think, the end of last year, and they are essentially a uh, network of small businesses. You will get a member of the Gift Association, which will know all of those people. You can have one-to-one calls, and that you can ask them any questions. I think I pay a quarterly membership of about £80, but it's definitely worth it because it gives you access to other small businesses, manufacturers. They'll help you with doing things like press releases. They are basically the person that you can ask all these questions that you don't know, and they will point you in the right direction to help you grow your business.
That's amazing. And I guess your products just have to come under the category of gifting for you to be
Yes.
eligible.
Well, no, I think it's service based as well. I think it's a variety of networks of people they have in the network.
That's so interesting because
I would
I'd heard
highly
of them.
recommend.
Yeah, that's such a good advice. Thank you. I think that everyone should go and take a look because I've seen the logo and I was aware that there was a gift association, but I'll be honest, I didn't know who they were and what they did. So they sound like they could be really useful for people.
Yeah, and you can book in one-to-one calls as well. That's included within your membership, and I would definitely recommend doing that. And if you go to any trade shows like Spring Fair or Giving and Living or Top Draw, there are usually reps of the Gift Association there, which you can have one-to-ones in person with as well. So it's definitely worth being a member just to have that person that you can go, oh, I'm not sure about this. Can you point me in the right direction?
Yeah, I definitely think that's invaluable. Wow, I'm thinking that's amazing, and I wish I'd heard of them sooner. You mentioned trade shows then, Lucy. Have you been to any yet, or are you thinking about that?
I have visited a few over the last sort of year. I haven't been very well with my health, so it's not something which I realistically can do at the moment. But just to walk around and network with other businesses, I would recommend doing that as well because that's invaluable talking to people face to face. meeting people, I would recommend doing that, even if you don't exhibit, because it can be really expensive and costly for a small business to exhibit. But just walking around is really beneficial.
Definitely. And as you say, it's just really nice to meet, the people behind brands that you've seen or people you might have spoke to
Yes.
online, and suddenly you can meet them in real life. Yeah, I totally agree. I love going to trade shows just for that reason.
Yeah. And it was actually a little bit, we went all the way up to Spring Fair to Birmingham, and the best discussions I had with other businesses happened to be businesses which are all Southwest based. So we drove all the way up to Birmingham just to find out that all the businesses which are all down these country lanes that you would never think if you wouldn't meet, because we're all in the countryside and we're all just surrounded by fields. We all had to go up to Birmingham to meet each other.
Well, I
But
guess that shows the benefit. It is still worth doing things in person. I guess that's what that
yeah,
shows.
trade shows are definitely worth it, just to walk around and meet people. They're invaluable meeting and face to face with people.
Oh, that's brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about getting stocked in retailers, Lucy. So you mentioned that when you started, you were going around to shops with your basket. So is that
Yeah,
still how you're approaching that now, or are you doing that and other things?
I mean, it's definitely more tidied up, that it's not just a little basket with some greeting cards in anymore. But they have platforms online like Fair, if you've heard of Fair,
Yes.
which is essentially Etsy for shops. And that's a really great way to for shops to find you. But I think it is meeting people in person is invaluable. So going around, contacting shops, having meetings one to one, it's just irreplaceable. People seeing your product in person, getting to feel it in their hands and see the quality of it. So I would say the best way to approach retailers and stockists is in person.
I really like the idea of you just going along to shops with a basket of cards and talking to the owners, because I do think that if you're talking, shops in your local area or ones, that are near you, I think that people do like the personal touch, and I imagine that that's much better received than an email from someone they've never heard of.
Definitely. Yeah. If you send an email to a shop, I mean, 1 out of 10 times you might get a response, but you are probably also emailing the wrong person, and you're just filling up their inbox. So it is nice to maybe phone ahead, arrange a meeting, get them to see your products in person. And that's why the trade shows are fantastic as well, because the buyers are going there to have a look at the products in person. And you can take lovely pictures of your products and put it on an email and send it to a shop, but they can't see that product in their hand. But it's also really lovely to go to the shops in person, because then you can look around that shop and think, is my product relevant to this stockist? Is my target market shopping in this shop? And if you look around and think, yeah, this is exactly where my target market, my customers are shopping, that gives you an even better pitch for when you're pitching to the shop, because you know your product is completely appropriate for that stockist.
Definitely. And as you say, you can also get an idea of what they're stocking already. So do your product
Yes. Will it
fit?
fit with what they've already got?
And coming back to what you said about photographs, etc., I think especially for cards, I can imagine that's a product you'd really want to see in person, because the quality of the printing and the paper can
Yeah, the
vary
paper
so
you use.
much,
Yeah.
and you just can't portray that in a photograph.
No, it's greeting cards are something really hard to photograph. They are something which it's you've got to really feel in your hand. Anything paper related is such a tactile thing. And I think technology is fantastic and it helps businesses grow so much, but in person sort of meetings just aren't replaceable by that.
Definitely. But having said that, though, are you also having success with fair? Because I've heard that fair's a brilliant way to get found by stockists who may be a bit further afield than where you are.
Yeah, I've set up Fair. It's on my list of things to increase this year. Most of my wholesalers at the moment I meet in person. I'll do trips to different sort of areas, and I'll make 3 or 4 different meetings with 3 or 4 different shops in that area, and that's how I tend to do it.
Sorry, I keep sneezing.
That's okay.
Hopefully no one can hear me sneezing. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk a little bit about you starting your business so young, if that's okay, and you don't mind talking
Yeah.
about that. Do you think you've come across any? Well, let's start with challenges. Do you think there are any challenges that are unique to starting a business when you're younger?
I think there is. I think it's definitely there are skills that I've really had to grow on. Confidence. I had no confidence when I started my business. Um, and I think you can get so excited by creating products that you sometimes, when you're beginning, don't think about the end result, who you're targeting it to, and making sure it's relevant for your target market. But I don't think there are loads of any more challenges for someone starting young as there is for someone who is starting when they're sort of middle-aged. I think it's still that lack of experience that you're going to have at any age if you're just starting. And actually, the people that I've approached, I think, probably want to help me more because of my age, and help me start my business. So I wouldn't say there are really any more challenges. Maybe potentially not getting taken as seriously by some people, but I've had that happen on very few occasions. And I think because I'm younger, having sort of growing with the technology which is being provided as well is really relevant, for me as a younger person.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess one of the things I was curious about was whether, you had people not take you as seriously. But then I have to say, Lucy, from talking to you, you're so articulate and you obviously really know your business, and that comes across really well. So I would be surprised if anyone did try and undermine
Yeah,
you, because you definitely know what you're talking about.
I think that's the thing. If you are really passionate about, if you have a product business and you live and breathe that product business, and you're really passionate about it and you're confident in your products, I don't think I think someone might initially look at you, not say anything, and then once you start talking, um, I've never really encountered anyone, which has not bought from me because, or made a sort of sales arrangement with a shop because of my age. If anything, I think people want to support you in your journey.
That's really positive. And I totally agree with what you said before, by the way, about it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're coming into starting a business new, you could be any age, and it's still completely new. It's still a learning curve. And what can also, and then also I think there are challenges if you start a business a bit later and you've done other things before that. Sometimes that can
Yeah,
benefit you. You can take skills and experiences with you. But sometimes you can find that maybe you're not up to date on things because maybe you work in a completely different industry and you're not, do you know what I mean? And you're not quite
yeah,
aware
and I could
of
argue
changes.
as well, it's because 'cause I'm younger, I don't have that financial worry as much. I don't have, like, a house deposit or something, which I think I've got to work and earn the money for that because I live at home still. So it eliminates an element of risk by having a startup business by being younger, I think, because you don't have the financial burden of if it goes wrong. Which
Definitely.
I'm
Yeah.
not thinking like that. It's going in the right direction. And I
No, I
could
know what
argue,
you mean.
yeah, I'm not sure if I've said that exactly. I hope that came across how I wanted to say it.
No, I think it did. I know exactly what you mean. And also, because you're young, there's also the case that you may not want to do this forever, and that's okay too. But I think you're right. I guess there's a lot less pressure because you're doing it for now and you can see where it goes. But as you said, it's not having to pay your mortgage, for example, at the moment.
Yes. There's no, I think being young, there's no financial worry on running a business if you take some risks and you you do a product and it isn't what you thought it was. I'm actually really grateful. I've been, it's a weird way of saying it, I've been really grateful. I've been ill the last few years, had chronic fatigue syndrome. So it's allowed my products to sit on the market. So I've gained a better understanding of what my target market want. So moving forwards, I now know which products are going to be really appropriate for the people who are buying my products. So it has eliminated sort of an element of risk, I think, in my product sort of development, because I now know what is going to be really relevant for my audience that I sell to. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I think, and I'm so sorry, first of all, that you've had that, but I think what you're saying is that it's also allowed you to slow down and not be rash, because I think it can
there's no rush.
be
I think
easy.
there can be this sort of pressure as a small business to do everything at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there's not. Sometimes you need to slow down, look at it from sort of further away and evaluate. This is what's going really well. This hasn't taken. Why hasn't it taken? Why is that doing really well? And then make a plan moving forwards about what products you're gonna move forwards with, or just reevaluate.
That makes sense. And while, of course, I'm sure would have preferred to have had perfect health and not have anything, and not had to be so unwell for the last few years, I suppose that it is a good reminder, as you say, of slowing down and not doing everything 100 miles an hour and trying to do everything, be everywhere. Because that's quite a common thing, I think, when you start a business. And I know I did it when I started my first product business. I wanted to sell on every marketplace. I was expanding my range far too quickly, so my cash flow kind of wasn't keeping up. And I mean, it comes from a good place. It comes from a place of enthusiasm and passion. But actually, I think if I'd had my time again, I would have approached things a lot slower and done things in stages, let things play out, see how things went, rather than just constantly plowing ahead.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the things I've learned the most. Is I was so excited about designing the products and doing my artwork and seeing my artwork on products that I think, to begin with, some things went really well and some things I was like, why aren't they going so well? I love those. It's my artwork on products, but I wasn't thinking about the end consumer and who it was relevant for. And now that I've done it slower, I can see who is buying it, why they're buying it, and moving forwards, I can make sure that my products are really relevant. So doing it slower is definitely more beneficial than doing everything as quickly as you can, trying to put stuff out on as many marketplaces and do it for as many people as you can. It's getting that more sort of concise approach.
That makes a lot of sense. And so with that in mind, what are your plans for this year? So are you looking to add more ranges, or what's in the plans?
So this year I've got some products with me. This year I am hoping, well, I am going to be expanding my British countryside designs. I am going to be focusing on my greetings cards and my fine bone china mugs, because I could sit here and talk all day about how much I love my fine bone china mugs and my greeting cards. They just are. This is my Highland cow. I don't think my camera is going to be doing this justice on my laptop because it's not the best quality camera, but the print quality on my mugs is just, it's the same quality of my drawings. So I'm going to be taking forwards my mugs, my greetings cards, and my British countryside designs, to focus more at sort of farm shops and more countryside sort of agricultural consumers.
That's really exciting. And I have to say, you're right, it's not the best resolution on the screen, but you can see
there's
that's
much better pictures
you
on the
can see that's a
website.
really great drawing. I mean, if you told me that was a black and white photograph, I would have believed you. It's like really beautiful.
Thank you. I do have a picture of Frankie, which is the design which inspired the name of the business.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure her picture is any more detailed on the screen.
Amazing. And honestly, anyone who is listening to this needs to go to YouTube so you can actually see it. Well, that's beautiful, Lucy.
Thank you. I yeah, so I'm going more British countryside. The irony, I've just showed you giraffe, but she's a staple of the business and she's really popular. But after I brought out a few sort of British countryside inspired designs last year, they've gone down so well that I'm continuing that sort of theme onwards.
Well, that makes sense, and it's brilliant that you have the data, as you said, that you've had the time to see what does sell well, so you can really consider where you go next. Because I suppose as well as an artist, it could be really tempting to just keep creating and just create things that
Yes,
you like and hope someone buys it almost.
yeah, this is exactly what I was doing when I started. Um, it was so exciting as an artist creating the artwork, seeing it on products. Um, and that's just not the way that you can approach it. Um, you've got to really think, is this relevant for who's going to buy this? Because you'd go, oh, I'd buy it. I love it. I've designed it. Looks fantastic. But you've got to make sure that it's relevant for who you're selling it to.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for all you shared, Lucy. So I'm going to link to your website in the show notes this episode so everyone can come over and look at your art and your products. But I have one final question before we finish, if that's okay. And that is, what would your number one piece of advice be for other product creators?
I think it is probably plan from the end. So who is your target market? What are they going to be looking for? And making sure that you are designing your product so it's really relevant to who you are pitching it to, and then sort of work backwards from that point. And be really confident in your product, because no one knows your product like you do, and no one can rave about it and be as passionate about it as you. So make sure you get that across to other people when you're promoting it.
Well, that's brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Lucy.
No, thank you so much for having me.